It's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting tutorial, and today we are painting the new Ratlings kill team. Here they are. We've got these 6 models on the desk in front of us, but we do have the entire kill team to do, but these 6 should provide us with more than enough context to paint the entire lot, and a massive thank you goes out to Games Workshop for sending me these early as part of the Brutal and Cunning kill team box. Now, we're going to jump in and we're going to start painting them. They've all been primed in grey Seer, and we're going to do the dog at the end. So we're just going to pop that to one side for now, and we're just going to focus on these 5. So we'll do these 5, do the dog, and then do the booby traps and the box of ammo and all that kind of thing. So the colour we're going to be using first over the top of our grey Seer primed minis is some Creed Camo, not Krieg Camo, Creed Camo. And we're going to be applying this over the top of their shirts and vests and things like that. So with that Creed Camo all applied, we're then going to take some Black Legion, and we're going to apply this over the top of the trousers. Now we are going to come back to Black Legion, but just for now, we're just going to get this all over the top of the trousers, across all of our Ratlings. So with that Black Legion all applied, we're then going to take some Cygor Brown. And we're going to apply this over top of, well, this individual's little leg guards. But what we're also going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the belts and braces, and over the top of the backpacks. Now we're going to avoid any kind of complex strapping that's going on the backpacks. In the instance that, for example, there's a bedroll or something like that attached. And if it's made up of multiple different sections, we're going to avoid 1 or 2 of them. So for example, in this case, you can see here on the back, we obviously have the gun here, and we have this bit, and we have this bit here in the middle. I'm going to apply this over top of this bit here in the middle, just like that, and we'll also apply it over the top of the gun casing in this instance, but we won't apply it over the top of the bedroll or that top box. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Wyldwood, and we're going to apply this over the next set of kind of packages and leather bits. So for example here, I'm going to apply this over top of this large box shape. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Black Legion. And we're going to use this over the top of any of these straps that we've left, as well as any of the remaining kind of leather details. The reason we've got this guy out because we're also going to apply this over top of his bomb suit. So with that all done, we're now going to take some Dark Angel's Green and we're going to apply this over top of any armour. So we've got these shoulders here, but there is a helmet on one of our other Ratlings. We've also used a bit of that Dark Angel's Green on that kind of shoulder bit just there on this guy. But next up what we're going to do, and it seems like it would be rude not to, we're going to take some Ratling Grime and we're going to apply this over top of the bedrolls. So our next colour is going to be some Blood Angel's Red, and we're going to use this to do a bit of kind of fine detailing. So we've got things like the headband on this individual that we're going to apply the Blood Angel's Red over. Just like that sort of thing. We've also got the armband tied around his arm, but what we can also do here with the Blood Angel's Red, for example, is we can use this to pick out the handle on these pliers and the dynamite in his hand. Like that sort of thing. And then there's also stuff like the occasional handle of a knife, for example, on the back here of this guy. So yeah, we're just going to pick out little red details here and there. Just like that sort of thing. So with that all done, our next colour is going to be some Guilliman Flesh. We're going to apply this over top of their skin. So this is going to include arms, hands, feet, and faces. So with that all done, we're then going to use 4 colours really, but not all at the same time. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be just alternating them, and you don't even have to use all 4 of them. You can just use 1 or 2 or 3 or even more. 4 colours are going to be Wyldwood, Cygor Brown and Black Templar and Skeleton Horde. And we're going to be using these to pick out all of the hair and beards. So I'm just going to pick out this hair and beard with some Black Templar. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Agrax Earthshade. I'm going to apply this over top of the fuse here on the dynamite. We're going to use this just because we've got it open and we're here. We're going to use this to shade the dynamite, the red part of it. Just like that sort of thing. But what we're also going to do here is we're going to use this over the top of the bandage on his head, like so. Like that. And we have another one over here on our little pack master, where we're going to use the Agrax Earthshade over the top of this kind of it's sort of like a cover really. So with all that Agrax Earthshade applied, we're now going to do a pretty big one, which is to take some Black Legion. And we're going to apply this over top of all of the casings on all of the weapons, things like our sergeant's binoculars and stuff like that. There's a lot of Black Legion on these guys, which is, well, I did already warn you. And with all of that Black Legion applied, we're then going to take some Sigvald Burgundy. And we're going to apply this over the top of the beret. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. And we're going to apply this over the top of almost all of the remaining details. However, we are going to be leaving things like the little Aquillas on the guns and on their belts. We're going to be leaving out any food, so there's like sausages and things scattered around, as well as any mugs and things like that. We're going to do something slightly different for the mugs, but we're going to do all of those kind of sort of more flavourful bits, pardon the pun, a little bit later on. So for now, we're going to be applying this over the top of all of the kind of mechanical areas of the weapons, over the top of any blades and servos and equipment and stuff like that. So with all that Iron Warriors applied, we're then going to take a really small amount of some Retributor Armour. And we're going to apply this over the top of these kind of remaining areas on the medals on our Sergeant. But that's it, we don't want gold anywhere else really. So with that all done, we're now going to clean up on the rest of the kind of remaining details, and we actually did apply a little bit of gold there to the beret as well. Just forgot to mention that completely. But what we're going to do next is we're going to take a small amount of some Talassar Blue, and we're going to apply this around the rim of all of the mugs. I'm going for that kind of classic sort of camping mug look. With that then done, we're going to take some thinned down Bloodreaver Flesh, and we're going to use this over the top of all the sausages. It's quite a surprising amount of sausages on these miniatures. With that done, we applied the Bloodreaver Flesh over the top of the ham in this ham and cheese toasty. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Iyanden Yellow and we're going to apply this over the top of the cheese. And then next up we're going to take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to apply this over the top of the bread. And with that all done, we then want to take some Wyldwood and we're going to apply this over the top of the crust of the bread, and we're also going to apply this over the top of the recaf in our Sergeant's coffee. So with that all done, it's now time to add some shades to these models, and the first of these is going to be some Kroak Green. And we're going to apply this over top of, well, all of our green. So we've got the shirts of our Ratlings, but we've also got the darker green armour that we're going to apply this over the top of as well. With all that Kroak Green applied, we're then going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to use this to shade the gold, the skin, and we're also going to use this to shade the Sigvald Burgundy of this hat and any areas of leather where we used Wyldwood. And so with that all done, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil. And we're going to use this over the top of all of the white, all of the silver, and all of the black details. So with those shades all applied, our Ratlings are now what I would call a Warhipster battle ready, and they're looking pretty good. However, we're not going to leave them there. We're going to take them to the next level, and we're going to do this by adding some highlights. And we don't actually have that many highlights that we're going to do here, because it's already kind of fiddly enough, as it were, but it only needs a couple just to take us up to a really good, strong looking miniature. So the colour we're going to be using first is some thinned down Nurgling Green. I'm going to be using this to highlight their green clothes. So with that all done, we did also use the Nurgling Green to highlight the armour as well, just because, well, I don't know why I didn't say I was going to do that, but we did. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take some Karak Stone, and we're going to very gently dry brush this over the top of basically just the backpacks. This is just to add a little bit of visual interest here. We want to be really gentle. Just kind of skim those details just to catch the edges. Just like that, really. So with that Karak Stone dry brush applied, it's very subtle, but it's enough to just give us a little bit of a highlight point on all of those leather details. So what we're going to do now is we're going to once again go back to our fine edge highlighting, and we're going to use some thinned down Flayed One Flesh, and we're going to use this to highlight all of the skin. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Black Legion, just a really tiny amount of this. I'm going to use this over the top of the eyeballs. And so with that Black Legion applied, we then want to take a really tiny little dot of Screaming Skull, and we want to apply this in the corners of the eyes. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Corax White, and we're going to use this to, well, effectively relayer all of our white details. We're not really doing a highlight here. However, what we can do on the mug, for example, is we can just make this quite a rough relayer. give it that kind of worn vibe, like that sort of thing. Whereas we do have the belt buckle under here, which does kind of need to be edge highlighted, but again, it's kind of more of a relayer because we're just looking to capture all of those edges really. So with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our black details, such as the guns and the trousers. And with all that Dawnstone applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Ironbreaker. I'm going to use this to highlight all of our silver bits. And so with that all done, we're then going to use two colours, Blood Angels Red and Talassar Blue. I'm going to use these to colour in all the assortment of buttons and lenses and things. So for example, we're going to use Talassar Blue over the top of the scope. Like that. Then similarly, we're going to use Blood Angels Red over the top of the little laser pointer on the underside. And then we've got that little gadget just here, which we're going to apply Blood Angels Red over the top of the arrow. And so on and so forth. So with that all done, as you can see, our Ratlings are now all finished. All 10 of them. There we go. Here's a couple. One that you have seen and one that you haven't seen before. But we've used the same fundamental colours across all of them. There's no kind of individual surprises that you won't have already seen. So what we need to do now is we need to move on to our next miniature, which is going to be the dog. Now, there's actually not a lot that's very different there about kind of how we're going to do that. And, well, we're going to kind of breeze through it pretty quickly. So, for our little pug, you have to pay for those kinds of images on the internet. So for our pug, what we're going to do is we're going to start by taking some skeleton Horde, and we're going to apply this over the top of the entirety of the dog's skin. So with that skeleton Horde all applied and drying, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Cygor Brown. I'm going to use this over the top of the leathers on the dog. So with that Cygor Brown all applied, we're then going to take some Creed Camo. I'm going to apply this over the top of his little shirt. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Black Templar and we're going to apply this over the top of our dog's muzzle here. Like so. We're going to apply it over the top of the nose and the eyes. Like that. And then I'm just going to apply it on top of the head a little bit. Like so. Then we're going to wash the brush, get rid of the water, and we're just going to go in there and give it a sort of blend over the top of the head. Like that. And then we want to do the same thing on the cheeks as well. Like that. Wash the brush. Get rid of the water. And give it a little blend. And with that all done, we then want to take a tiny amount of Iron Warriors. I'm going to use this to just pick out our little bits of metal. So we've got the buckles and things. Like that. And we've got these bullets. So with that all done, we're now going to add a shade, and that is going to be some Reikland Fleshshade. We're going to apply this over the top of the dog's skin. So with that all done, we're now going to highlight the dog. And the colour we're going to be using is some thinned down Screaming Skull. I'm going to apply this over the top of the dog's flesh. With that Screaming Skull all applied, we're then going to take some Nurgling Green and use this to highlight the shirt. So with that all done, we're then going to take some thinned down Dawnstone. And we're going to use this to just highlight very, very kind of small little highlights on our dog's face. And then just to finish off our dog, we're going to take a teeny tiny little dot of Screaming Skull and we're going to apply it in the back corners of each of the eyes. So with that all done, our pup is now finished, so we can pop him to one side with the rest of our Ratlings. And, well, the next bit is to work on the booby traps and this case of goodies. Now, at this point we're going to actually do the basing as well for the Ratlings, because it's all by and large exactly the same. And again, there shouldn't be any surprises here at all, because these are all colours that we've already covered. So, we are going to start by taking some black Templar, and we're going to use this to paint in all of the stone. And as I said, this also goes for the basing stuff, the tactical rocks on our Ratlings. Next up, we're going to take some Blood Angels Red, and we're going to apply this over the top of the explosives. Just like that sort of thing. We'll do the rest of it, but what we're also going to do here is we're going to use the Blood Angels Red over the top of this bottle here. As well as this med symbol. Next up, we're going to take some Cygor Brown and we're going to apply this over the top of the leather pouch. Next up, we're going to take some Skeleton Horde and we're going to apply this over the top of the carry handles of our case of goodies, like that. But what we're also going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the trip wires on our booby traps. I know it's slightly different to the Ratlings, but we will apply this Skeleton Horde over the top of the fuses on the dynamite as well. Next up, we're going to take some Dark Angels Green. We're going to apply this over the top of the other bottle. And with that all done, we're then going to take some Black Legion and we're going to apply this over top of the crate, and we're also going to apply this over top of the straps on the dynamite and the stakes for the booby traps. And so with that all done, we're now going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. I'm going to apply this over top of all of our remaining details. So with that all done, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil, and we're going to use this to shade the silver, the white medical symbol, well, the Aquila, or Aquila, however you're supposed to say it, on the medical pack, and we're going to use this to shade the red and green bottles as well. So with all that Nuln Oil drying, we're now going to finish off the miniatures basically by taking some Stirland mud. We'll be applying this over the top of all of that negative space around all of the bases, and then we're going to dry brush it with Tyrant Skull. But we do that in every video, so you know we're not going to film it. But there you go, your Ratlings are now finished. And there we have it, a fully completed Ratlings kill team. And like I said in the video before, there's been many iterations of the Ratlings over the years, and I've actually got some of the really old metal ones, which might be quite fun to go back and apply this scheme over the top of at some point in the future. I'm just a very busy bee, so I don't know when that would be, but this is quite fun. They're a lovely little kill team, very characterful, and exactly what you want from this game.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.